Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to do my manga haul for April and May. April didn't have a lot of books, so I saved, for 2 months for May, and then I got a little bit more in May, and now I've got a substantially larger haul than I thought I was going to have. Anyway, I'll just get right into it. So in April, I'll start with the series that I was continuing and filling in gaps of stuff I already owned. So I got volumes 3 and 4 of Blue Morning. I had purchased 1 through 7. I guess it was in March. And these were the two that just came a bit later. So now I own 1 through 7. I know that there's a volume 8. Either it's out or it's coming out this year or whatever. But I just wanted to get the ones that were already out since I had only owned volume 1 and read it, and I did enjoy it. It's obviously a yaoi series about this very rich young man who has inherited his family's kind of estate, fortune, whatever, because his dad died. I can't really remember too clearly, but anyway, this guy is his butler, and he's in love with him. The butler's older, so it is an age gap romance, and he's also known him his entire life. So it's just an interesting kind of like rich society. This kid is trying to be trained to take over the family kind of legacy, I guess, dynasty, but he's young and he's not really interested. He's mostly just interested in the butler. So, yeah. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite thing I've ever read, but I am enjoying it, and I think as I get farther into it, I'll like it better. I think I'm only on volume 3, but yeah. Next, I always pre-order these, so there was volume 6 of Bloom Into You came out. This is a Yuri or Girls Love series that's probably one of the only ones that actually interests me. I'm more into stories about LGBT characters as opposed to fan service kind of Yuri stories. So this one kind of seemed more on the side of like an actual story about characters. And I really like it. Every time I get a volume, I like it. This one really, I think, if I remember correctly, I read it as soon as I got it, mostly focuses on the play that they've been trying to come up with. But yeah, the art is really nice and simple. I enjoy it. The characters are some of them are annoying, but for the most part, I really do like some of the background characters. This volume in particular, I don't remember enjoying too much. I think it ended a bit sad, if I remember correctly, but it's propelling the story forward, and I'm looking forward to more volumes. Next, I just continued on with Bungo Stray Dogs. So this is volumes 9 and 10. I know there are more out at this point, but because it's Yen Press and they're quite expensive, I only get them when they're on sale. This is a series I really, really, really love and highly recommend. It's got a wacky cast of characters. They have special powers. It's all the characters are named after, and their personalities mimic famous novelists. And so, like past, present, kind of mostly past, like famous novelists from all over the world. There's some Japanese ones, there's some English, and then I think they just are from everywhere, to be honest. And so the characters kind of, they share the name of the novelist, and then they their personalities are kind of based on some stereotypes that we know about these novelists, as well as traits from usually the novelist's like most known work. So the example I always use is there's a character, Osamu Dazai, who is the author of No Longer Human, and so the special power of Dazai in the manga is called No Longer Human, and yeah, I find it really, really funny. What I appreciate is that it's one of those very humorous stories while still being quite serious and also having a lot of really good action scenes, and really good, like, creepy characters and villains and stuff. And I like this also because all of the times when there are villains, there's been a few different kind of organizations and stuff that have come up as the villain, but each time you really get to know the characters on the other side as well. It's not just always from the point of view of the heroes per se. It's basically a war amongst organizations. They're a detective agency, and then there's the mafia. There's another organization from America. I think there's even another one being introduced, if I remember correctly. And you really get to know the characters on all sides, which I really enjoy because they all have funny moments. They all have, some pretty creepy, scary moments, but it's really enjoyable to read. And it's one that I always look forward to when I'm able to get more of. Next, I finally have the final volume 9 of Princess Jellyfish. I have not read it yet. I think I'm still on volume 3 or something. This is one I'm having a hard time getting through, which is surprising to me because I loved the anime for this. I think it's just that Akiko Higashimura has a lot of text in her manga, and so it takes a lot longer to read, which isn't a problem, but I have to be in the mood to really read. And I just haven't been in the mood for it, but I know I'm going to enjoy it once I am. So I'm just waiting to kind of be actually in the mood to read Princess Jellyfish, but at least I have all of it now, so I can read it whenever I want. Next, I continued with a couple more volumes, 6 and 7 of Dorohedoro, and this is another one that I'm really, really, really enjoying. I've talked about it a few times on the channel already, but yeah, I bought 6 and 7. This is as much as I have. I have read these two, loved them. Looking forward to getting some more when I can, and yeah, they're really, really good, bizarre and violent and gruesome and ridiculously funny. Yeah, I really, really like it, and the art is, if you haven't seen it, is just really cool. The fight scenes are excellent. The characters are all very distinct looking and very ridiculous, which I appreciate. Yeah, so highly recommend that one as well. Another continuation, Volume 5 of Dead Dead Demons, Destruction by Inio Asano. This is another one I pre-order the volumes and I read them the day I get them. Really, really good, kind of apocalyptic series, but it's a slice of life and kind of calm. This volume, though, stuff is starting to hit the fan. The war that's going on between the little aliens and the humans is kind of coming to a head, I think. And so this one was a bit darker than the other volumes have been, and I think that we're gearing up for some more action, and by action I mean probably massacre. So I'm interested to find out more about the aliens and what they're there for and what their purpose is, because at this point they seem kind of defenseless, but humans are feeling threatened anyway, so I'm interested to see where that's going. Next, another Akiko Higashimura work, Tokyo Terroraba Girls. This is volume 6. I pre-order these as well. I have all of the rest of the volumes. There's 9 in total, I believe. I have them all pre-ordered. This is the most recent one at this moment. Haven't read this one yet. I think I'm on volume 5. But this is another one. I enjoyed this more than Princess Jellyfish at this point. This is about 3 women in their 30s trying to get married before the Tokyo Olympics. And it's heartbreaking. It's feels quite real. And I think that's maybe why I'm connecting with this more than Princess Jellyfish, is this feels really, really this feels really real, even though it's over the top with the comedy and all that kind of stuff. it still feels like very human. And I'm really, really enjoying it. Oh, there's the back as well. There's the three of them. And then I have talked about this because I read it during a readathon, I think. Smashed by Junji Ito. At this moment, I think this is the newest Junji Ito work. This is a short story collection like the other ones. When I talked about this, when I read it, I mentioned that this is probably not... I don't know if it's my least favorite, but it's definitely nowhere near my favorite of Junji Ito's works that I've read. I don't remember really any of the stories in this, which is a problem, except for Smashed, and that's only because it's the cover and it jogs my memory. I just remember enjoying Shiver immensely. I really liked Frankenstein. And yeah, like I think everything except the Yonen Muse Cat Diary that's released in English by Junji Ito, and I've read them all and I've enjoyed them. This one was a bit of a letdown, which is unfortunate, but I'm still going to continue to pick up works by him. The hardcover releases by Viz are gorgeous. They look really nice next to each other because they're all kind of the same format, and I'll read this again for sure. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it when I read it, I'm not sure, but I just didn't absorb any of what was happening in these. Whereas I could, if you asked me what stories were in Shiver, I could tell you quite a few of the stories and that I enjoyed them very immensely. Whereas this, I wouldn't be able to tell you without opening this up and jogging my memory. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about any of the stories in this one. So yeah, still glad to have it, just a little bit underwhelming, I guess. Next, I picked up Goodbye by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. This was to round out the other two that I picked up, A Band in the Old Tokyo and A Pushman and Other Stories. I had ordered this at the same time, but it came a bit later. I have read this, really loved it. I talked about these during the readathon as well, that I did, I guess, a month ago or so. And I absolutely love this. These are all short stories, and they're all from the perspective of a man, but it's a different man each story. And it's so hard to describe, like, why I love these so much. I think they just felt really raw and real. This is an alternative manga, and it is, like, the art, I gotta find something that's appropriate to show. Like, the art is it's an older style, because this is an older manga, but it's just really, it really hits those those very human emotions of loneliness, of anger, of frustration, of lust, and it all just, it hits you back to back. And usually with short story collections, I like to read only like a couple stories at a time. I like to pace myself because it's hard to kind of absorb all of the stories at once. But with these three, by Yoshihiro Tatsumi that I picked up, I read them, all three of them, in one sitting, back to back, and it was just like I couldn't put them down. I was absorbing every single story. It wasn't feeling like it was, I read this one, oh, it wasn't too good, I'll move on to the next one, whatever. No, it was every single one was hitting me in a different way, and it all just, like, I couldn't put them down. And then I finished them, and I just wanted more. And that was an amazing feeling. And I highly, highly recommend picking this up if you're okay with heavier topics. If you're really sensitive to some heavier topics, I wouldn't pick them up. The treatment of some of the women in these books is not great. And it's not that I'm like, woo, I love the way they're treating them. It was just like, no, that's a really real situation. That's a really real emotion. That is a very legitimate thing that happens in this world. And it's not fun to have it, like, thrown in your face like that, but it makes you think, and it makes you have to face the reality of it. And so it's not that they were wonderful topics and every story was feel good. No. None of these stories are feel good stories. But they really, really make you think, and they really make you, like I said, face the reality of these situations that happen to people all the time around us, that maybe we like to ignore or pretend they don't happen. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed these. I will absolutely be rereading these and trying to get more of Yoshihiro Tatsumi's stuff that's released in English. And the final thing I picked up for April was Tekkon Kincrete, Black and White. This is the all-in-one. This is by Taiyo Matsumoto. And I have read this before from the library, actually. And I've always thought, like, oh, I should pick it up, because I have his other, Taiyo Matsumoto's other works, and I love them. And I did love this too. But it's basically about these two kids who call themselves Black and White. They live in a really unsavory town, and they're homeless. They live in a car or something, an abandoned car. They get up to a ton of mischief, and I believe it's Black is the slightly older kid, believes he's like the owner of the town. There's a lot of gangs and a lot of violence and fighting and shady business deals and stuff going on in this town. And Black, this young kid, thinks that he's just on top of it all, and he knows everything, and he can, beat up anybody and all these things. And it's just a really sad kind of spiral of he feels like he's losing control of his town because there's a new group of people coming in, and trying to stay responsible for the younger boy, White, while he kind of is slowly kind of losing his grip on reality a bit. And it's really, really, really intense, if I'm remembering correctly, in the same style of kind of Taiyo Matsumoto's bizarre ridiculousness. There's lots of color pages, which is nice. This thing is huge, if you can't tell. It's ginormous, very heavy, really nice quality. It does have explicit content. It does have the warning there. It's really good. I haven't reread it yet. I really want to, but I'm glad that I own it now, so I don't ever have to worry about it going out of print, because it was printed a while ago. So I'm not sure how long it's going to be around for. And then in May, again, this isn't manga, but I showed the other one when I bought it. I found another Spy vs. Spy. This one's Masters of Mayhem. I found this at Goodwill, same as the other one that I found. I looked it up, and there's one more of these, and this is basically just a collection of the Spy vs. Spy comics that ran in Mad magazine. I really enjoyed the other one I bought, so I figured I'd get this one as well, especially since it was only $2. So, and then I did actually get some anime in May. I got Tokyo Godfathers, which I've never seen and I've always wanted to watch. I haven't watched it yet, actually, either, but I did find this used for a good price. So I bought Tokyo Godfathers, and I also bought Steam Boy. Again, never seen this. It's been one that's kind of been on my radar, and I found it for really cheap, so I figured, why not? Haven't watched that one yet either. My sister wants to watch them with me, so just trying to save up a time when we're able to actually watch something. Back to manga. Picked up volume 4 of Shortcake Cake. I'm loving this series. The funny thing is, it's really nothing spectacular. It's a bunch of kids in a boarding house. They're high school students, and it's a co-ed boarding house. The main character, 10, I just find her to be really charming, and I find the boys to be quite charming, and a bit different. I like how it kind of follows different perspectives of the characters as opposed to only following, one person. I like how it kind of bounces around, and then Yeah, I really, really enjoy it so far. It's really sweet. The art is gorgeous. It's not moving at a super slow pace. You get these really, really beautiful kind of faces, and then you also get the funny cat face. There's also, if I remember correctly, some really nice um, like backgrounds and stuff. Now that I'm trying to look for one, of course I can't find one. Yeah, I don't. I can't really find one in this volume. Anyway, um, I'm just really. Oh, and that's beautiful too. I just really like the art. I love the characters. I'm loving everything about it, even though it seems like such a generic shojo, but I really, really am loving it. Um, Next, I got volume 4 of My Boy. This is the age gap. I don't want to call it a romance, but we'll see where this goes. It's about a woman who is, I think she's in her 30s, meets this young boy who at the time is 12, and starts kind of taking care of him in a way that seems a bit too far for someone who's a stranger. And this at this point we are farther into the story. Some different things have happened. I really don't want to spoil it, but this was a really good volume. I really, really, really loved this volume. We get to see from the boy's perspective in this one, which was interesting and fun. I'm loving this series. It's very kind of, it has a very like melancholic feeling to it. Um, Look at how cute he is. A little smile. Yeah, it's not a feel good story. You get those little pings of like, oh, but for the most part, it's kind of sad. Um, a lot of that face. So yeah, I I'm really loving it. We're in volume 4 at this point, and I'm still really loving it. I think there are 6 volumes out in Japan currently, so I don't know how long the series is supposed to be, but I'm loving it and love to continue picking it up. Next, After the Rain, omnibus number 4, I think. Yep, 4. This is another age gap situation. Lots of people are talking about this. This high school girl, I think she's 17, is in love with her manager at work, who is in his 40s, divorced, and has a child. He's kind of dorky and ridiculous, and she's in love with him for whatever reason. There he is there. And I love it. This is feels like a slice of life kind of series. It's very slow paced. It is not a romance in the typical way. So if you're looking for like a romance between these two, you may not be as interested in this one. There's really beautiful color pages in all of the volumes. All throughout, they kind of are there. And it's just, I really love this. I pre-order this series and I read it the day I get it every time. It's something that's right up my alley of the kind of, again, a bit of a sad undertone to it, because it's about growing up, and then on the flip side with the manager, about him trying to recapture his youth and feeling like he's maybe made a wrong turn somewhere and can't figure out why his life feels so stagnant and stale. And then she kind of brings in this feeling of, you know, regret for him. And so she's trying to grow up too fast and try to get his attention very aggressively, whereas he is trying to, first of all, be like, we can't be together. But at the same time, he's kind of getting caught up in the moment, and trying not to let her see that, because he doesn't want to give her hope or give her the wrong impression, because he can't date her. But he's getting caught up in the moment of those romantic feelings that she is like thrusting at him. And and feeling a bit lost. So it's a story about these two people who are a bit lost, but at very different places in their lives, and I really love it. I think it's done really beautifully. Next, volume 3 of Hitorigime My Hero. I have not read this one yet. This is another boys' love. This one's not really explicit. It's got a fun cast of characters. The manga's a bit confusing. I've talked about this before. The anime was wonderful. I loved it. The manga's a little bit confusing. So hopefully this volume isn't as confusing as the first two were. But I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. Next, we got Silver Spoon, Volume 8. Continuing to love this series. I don't think I've read this one yet. I think I'm on Volume 7 or 6 or something. Farming, agricultural, high school, hilarious. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. A fun kind of slice of life. It's very, like, farming heavy, but I don't have a super interest in farming, and I still find all of this fascinating. So that's the test of a true, storyteller is, can you tell me a story about something I don't care about and make me care about it? And that's what Silver Spoon does for me. This video is really long. Okay. Our Dreams at Dusk, Shimanami Tasogare. This is by Yuki Kamatani. Volume 1. This is an LGBT story about this boy who kind of comes across a drop-in center and meets some other LGBT folks. He's struggling with his sexuality and he's having a tough time. I do have a video about first impressions of this. I don't think I posted it yet, so that will be happening soon, if not already by the time this comes out. But anyway, very good. Highly recommend. Absolutely love it. Another one I'm really enjoying, Classmates. This is Classmates Dokyusei by Asumiko Nakamura, Volume 1. I have been waiting years for this to be published physically in English. I know it was published digitally. I never read it digitally. I watched the movie years ago and loved it and have wanted it here. I love Asumiko Nakamura's art style. I love her storytelling. This is about basically exactly what the title says. It's about these two classmates. This boy is quiet, reserved, nerdy. This boy is loud. He's in a band. But he falls for him when he's trying to teach him some music stuff for their choir class or whatever it is they're doing. And it's their relationship and how the two of them kind of feel about the whole situation. They're in an all-boys school, and it's just a really nice kind of modern story of these two boys who have feelings for each other and seeing how the world is reacting to them, as well as just themselves coming to terms with the fact that they're in a relationship with another boy, and trying to figure out what that means to them, especially while trying to deal with, they're in high school trying to get into college, and what that means for their relationship as well, because they're in very different places in their academic lives. And finally, we're going to get through this real quick. I finally got my hands on the entire series of Tramps Like Us. I have wanted to read this for so long, and I found someone on eBay in Canada selling it. It was free shipping, a cheap price, full series. I wouldn't have had to pay any duties because it wasn't coming over the border. And I was like, it's now or never. I've wanted this for so long. Yeah, I'm so happy. This is a Josei series about this woman here who finds this boy. I think he's 20. Some people think he's a teenager. She mentions at some point that he's 20. So I'm a bit confused about his age. But anyway, this younger guy, she finds him in a box outside her apartment, and she makes him, he wants to stay with her, and she says, okay, but if you'll be my pet. And she names him Momo because that was her dog's name. And basically she keeps him as a pet. And so she has this young adult male as her pet. And she's trying to navigate an adult life of her very stressful work and trying to find someone to marry because she's kind of getting older and feels like she should be getting married at some point. And but at the same time trying to keep the fact that she is holding this boy in her house a secret, because it's quite embarrassing to admit to people that you have a pet that is a human. And she's kind of like, she doesn't really have any friends. She's kind of aggressive, or she comes off as aggressive, whereas Momo sees her, all sides of her. He gets to see, you know, the loving side of her. He gets to see the cute, embarrassed side of her, whereas everybody else is only seeing the stoic, accomplished, educated woman who doesn't really take anyone's BS and isn't very friendly. But I really love this. So far, I think I'm on volume 6, and I'm really enjoying it. I love josei series, and I especially love josei series that focus on like workplace and just like being an adult. This one has the thrown in of like, oh, she's taking care of this younger guy. It's a little bit salacious, but it does really remind me of Supply, which I have made a video about in the past, which is probably one of my favorite series I've ever read, which unfortunately wasn't finished publishing in English. However, also a josei series about a woman who is a bit older, who has a career that's very demanding and is trying to find love. But yeah, I'm loving this so far, and I'm so glad I found it finally. And that's all of it, all 14 volumes in really good condition, and for a decent price. So that is everything I have for April and May for my manga haul. Thank you for watching. I apologize for how long this video is. And if you saw anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. If you have any questions about any of the series, or if you've read them, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.